All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Nicholas Moriano here. Wanted to get on live and talk about some Bears. Just some things I've been seeing on the internet. Just things that have we'll get into it. Some things I don't quite agree with some cap cuts that people are maybe thinking about. And I get it. It's the off season. No more football games. We're trying to just think of different scenarios. Players that the Bears can draft, can acquire in free agency. Maybe can get creative with the cap, and really the Bears sitting at sixth most in the NFL. I don't even know how creative they need to get, but we'll discuss, and I'll let some people kind of jump in here and kind of come and hang out. But I appreciate everybody that has been, just watching these videos. And it's been a little bit since I've done a solo one. Me and Herb Howard have been doing our thing on Fridays, so make sure you actually go and subscribe to the Bigs YouTube channel. That way you can see every time we go live, and we chop it up and have a really good time. So make sure you follow them, but also follow me. I just got a notification when I logged into my YouTube studio, and it said you're over 5,000 subscribers. So that's awesome. I appreciate everyone that has subscribed, has watched, has left a comment. Hey, I'm eligible for super chats now too. So I know some people have submitted those in, so I appreciate that as well. But like and subscribe this channel. I'm only going to keep growing it on from here. And as we get into the draft and free agency, this is going to be a place where I'll give you my honest opinion, just the analysis I can provide, just give you the most up to date content I can on the Bears for the position that I'm in right now. So we'll kind of get into it. I see people are jumping in the chat. Jacob Stone, happy No Daddy Nick. What's going on, Jacob? We have #09. What's going on, Nick? Happy Monday, my dude. What's your thoughts on Tyler Booker? Okay, actually, let me see. All right. Jacob, we're going to get into Tyler Booker because I have watched 2 full games of him as I was kind of doing my homework for the draft. So we'll get into that towards the end of this show. But I'm glad that you asked, and I'm glad you're curious about him because I have some thoughts on the Alabama guard, Tyler Booker. But let's start really quick. I've been seeing some things kind of circulating on social media about some of the potential cap casualties and cap cuts for the Chicago Bears. And I don't think there's a lot of big names or surprising names when you think about guys that could potentially get cut that will actually save money towards the cap. I mean, the most obvious guy right now for me, and I think a lot of Bears fans are aware as well, is a guy like Gerald Everett. Somebody that if you cut him pre-June 1st, you're saving $5.5 million. And I can actually bring up I have a screen over to my right that I'm looking at, just over the cap and some of the the money that could be saved if the Bears choose to cut some of these players. But that's the guy that makes the most obvious choice. Gerald Everett, obviously not very productive in his 1 year with the Chicago Bears, wasn't utilized really in any way that made a positive impact on the Bears offense. Outsnapped Cole Kmet in the first game of the season against Tennessee Titans, which I think came with a lot of criticism, as it should. But the other guy, and also sticking with that group, with the tight end group, I'm seeing Cole Kmet's name being brought up as somebody that you can cut pre-June 1st and save some money. And you could, but that's not a move I would be willing to make. And, of course, the Bears are not going to consider that either. I don't think that's really on the table for Cole Kmet. You would, if you cut him, cap saving pre-June 1st, $6.8 million. And I think there are some people that look at Cole Kmet and his season, and they're like, well, you could probably do better at the tight end position. Are there better tight ends in the league than Cole Kmet? Yes, of course there are. More dynamic, bigger playmakers down the field that could separate better. But what you saw last year from Cole Kmet, honestly, do you believe that's what Cole Kmet is only capable of? I don't. I really don't. There's a lot of players in that offense that weren't being utilized correctly. I think Cole Kmet was just one of the many. And you just got to think, too, Ben Johnson is now the Bears head coach, the Bears play caller. Sam Laporta, Cole Kmet, far different players. I think Sam Laporta is somebody that does create more separation, more consistent than a Cole Kmet. But in terms of body types, like Cole is obviously the bigger target. Maybe he has a bigger catch radius in the end zone. But I still think that Ben Johnson will look at Cole Kmet as somebody you can get more out of. And I do think that when you look at how the Detroit Lions utilized their offense last year, a guy like Brock Wright, who didn't have much production in terms of receiving yards, had caught 2 touchdowns last season. The Lions were really effective on offense when they had a second tight end on the field. And that's not saying that you need another productive pass catcher. You probably need more of a reliable blocker. But also, I think as a defense, you see 12 personnel on the field, and you're thinking the Detroit Lions offense, you're most likely thinking run. Well, the Lions were really, really effective when they lined up in that personnel grouping and actually passed the football. One of the more efficient teams in the NFL when lined up in 12 personnel last season, actually had the most snaps in the NFL with 2 tight ends on the field. So I think when Ben Johnson's looking at, additions to make, he's not, one, going to make the subtraction of Cole Kmet. I think he's looking to make the addition of another, just a reliable tight end. Again, doesn't have to be a big playmaker in terms of a pass catcher, but somebody that could be a nice complement to Cole Kmet. And I think if you do that, that's going to be a nice way of just giving Ben Johnson all the tools he believes is necessary to run his offense. And that offense could look way different here in Chicago in 2025 than it did the past couple of years in Detroit with Ben Johnson calling plays. And as we all know, in Ben Johnson's introductory press conference, he's going to take it down to the studs and build it back up and build this offense around Caleb Williams. So maybe you're not seeing as much 2 tight end sets. Maybe you're not seeing as much of a duo running backfield. We don't know yet, but I think once we start to see free agency, come and go, the draft come and go, and we see the players that are acquired after those 2 periods, then we're going to have a way better idea of how Ben Johnson's envisioning the players that are currently here with the new guys that come in. But Cole Kmet, he ain't going anywhere. Obviously just got his extension not too long ago. Gerald Everett would be a guy. Other potential cap cuts, I've been seeing DeMarcus Walker's name in here as well. And I see in the chat, KRC, why do people hate Cairo Santos so much? Before I get to DeMarcus Walker, I think that's a good person to kind of talk about right now, because he's another person that if cap savings 2.08, just a little bit over 2 million, if you cut him. I don't understand that one either. Yes, if you want to cut a Cairo Santos because you maybe want a kicker who provides a bigger leg, okay, I understand that. I get that part of it, but you also need somebody that knows how to kick at Soldier Field. I would say that Cairo Santos has proven and showed that he can kick at Soldier Field, and when the game's on the line against Green Bay for a game-winning field goal, he can also nail that as well. Like the first time, what was it? The Green Bay special teams coach, they identified the low trajectory of Cairo Santos' kick. Sure. It was also, when you look at the blocking on that block in the first game against Green Bay, people are getting blown up and pushed back, and then you're able to make that block. So I don't get the, let's cut Cairo Santos to save $2 million and then have to go potentially find a new kicker and hope it kind of works out. You do still have Richard Hightower here, who I think did a really good job with the special teams unit, especially later on in the season. So I don't see that move as being one that, yes, you save $2 million, but now you have to go get, another kicker. And even if that person does provide a bigger leg, you still need to see how he kicks at Soldier Field. So not a fan of that one. And then really quickly, DeMarcus Walker. Obviously, he's not somebody that, it was a 3-year, $24 million contract that he signed. Make sure I got that right. But somebody that I would think that the Bears are envisioning a little bit more out of. But he's also somebody that does provide some versatility. 3 years, $21 million. Sorry, apologize for that. But I just don't see him also as being like, you got to cut this guy to save money here, and you're saving $5.25 million. So it is a little bit, a little less actually than Gerald Everett's $5.5 million. So that does make it maybe intriguing. But given what this defensive line doesn't have, depth right now, and guys that are also versatile, I think it's worth keeping a guy like DeMarcus Walker, somebody that does line up on the outside when given the opportunity to do so, but also has shown some flashes on the inside as well. So having a guy like that is, I think, does have its benefits, especially when you look at this defensive line in its totality. And it's Montez Sweat, Javon Dexter obviously took some really good steps in year 2. Andrew Billings, when healthy, is a really good run stuffer and, actually a really productive pass rusher, which you wouldn't expect from Billings, but he's been proving that the last 2 years. So I don't know if it's worth creating another hole unless you obviously have a clear vision. We can upgrade here for cheaper or even a younger player in that. Like, those are obviously the questions that this Bears front office is going to be thinking about when looking at each position. But I like, if I had to make a guess here on February 17th, I would think DeMarcus Walker's still on this football team. That's just me. But and then the other guy, I mean, we're looking at again, over the cap guys that kind of make sense here. This one's interesting. Kevin Byard, who I think had a pretty good 1 year with the Bears last season, but you do save $7 million in cap space. You cut him pre-June 1st. Now, the only problem with this is that you already have some inconsistency with the other safety position in Jaquan Brisker. Obviously, dealing with the concussion after the game against the Carolina Panthers, you didn't see Jaquan Brisker on the field after that fumble that he caused. Didn't see him. When you look at Kevin Byard, being older, somebody, a veteran player, we all know that, but I think provided some really good leadership for that secondary. It would be something where maybe the Bears look at, I don't know, it's got to be maybe a cheaper alternative in free agency, somebody that's going to be able to mesh well with whoever the opposite safety is that given week, because, again, you can't rely consistently on Jaquan Brisker to be there. So that one, cutting Kevin Byard would not surprise me, but still, if I'm today having to guess who would, if he's going to be on the team come 2025, I would also say that he would. I mean, could safety be an option in the draft? Potentially, maybe later rounds. I don't think it's going to be day 1, day 2. I wouldn't expect that, but maybe if you're looking for the next successor to even like a Jaquan Brisker, because you don't know about his status moving forward, it could be a possibility. But look, I don't expect many surprise cuts on this team, but if you're looking to get creative with the cap, and again, you're already 6th, you have the 6th most in the NFL. Money's not an issue for the Bears. So if they want to keep good players that they deem as serviceable and good, that will be productive in the team on 2025, then they have the flexibility to do so. So I don't think it's that much of a necessity to cut players and make additional holes for a roster that, does have quite a few. So it's going to be interesting how it all plays out. And obviously, the draft and free agency will be very telling of what the Bears end up doing here. Again, hey guys, everyone, appreciate you for coming in, hanging out on your Monday afternoon. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed their Valentine's Day weekend. Really quickly, I came in clutch, but I was super late to like actually booking something for my fiance, and terrible job. Don't do it. It's not a great way to kind of go into the Valentine's Day weekend expecting like, well, what are we doing on, Valentine's Day or that weekend? Like, you got to wait. I have to recommend Get in the Kitchen. It's a place in Chicago. You go there, you cook your own food. Some of it's already prepared, but you cook your own food. You drink wine, you hang out, and then you also you dance at the end. And so it was like we did some salsa dancing, had some nice shrimp, and made some dumplings, salad, wine. It was a really good time. It was actually one of our most fun dates that we've had. And so don't do it last minute though. Like I did, I had to get put on a wait list, got, called 2 days later. Hey, you're in. I'm like, let's go. Thank you. Get in the kitchen. But it was a really fun time. So don't do that. But hopefully everyone enjoyed their Valentine's Day weekend and, had a good time with their significant others. Okay. What this the headline of the show, what I want to discuss, which I thought was a really good idea from PFF. So I want to give them huge credit for even giving me the idea to talk about their content here. But it's Chicago Bears dream offseason scenario. And what they did, they went through every single NFL team, and God bless you guys for doing that. And I know how difficult it can be just to cover one team. All of them is a lot to think about. But So the premise of the article, and you probably need to have a PFF subscription to actually look into it. So not going to get into every single team. Not worth it. You're here for the Chicago Bears content. I got you. So they gave everybody their dream draft prospect and draft free agent edition. So the Bears, clearly with the needs that I was talking about, offensive line, defensive line, the trenches, the dream scenario for the Chicago Bears, the free agent signing, Kansas City guard Trey Smith, and then that first round draft pick at number 10 is Will Campbell from LSU. So, I mean, you think you look at this just from afar, you see those two names. I would think, and I'm going to ask the people who are in the chat right now, would that be your draft scenario? You can't move. We're not moving down. We're not trading up, trading down. You're sticking at 10. And I told you came away from this offseason. We don't know any of the other offseason picks or whatever else. But you came out with Trey Smith, who is going to be most likely the highest paid offensive guard in the NFL. And then Will Campbell, who I think is labeled right now as the best offensive lineman in this upcoming draft. Debatable at this point, but that's where I think the consensus seems to be with those two players at their respective spots at this time. Would you be happy? Would that be the dream scenario for the Chicago Bears in 2025? You come away with two starters on the O-line, with Trey Smith being at right guard, and then obviously Will Campbell. Obviously he's only played tackle. I was looking into him, just seeing his snaps over the years. 861 snaps according to PFF in 2024 at left tackle, 805 snaps in 2023 at left tackle, 882 at left tackle in 2022. So this is a guy that has played tackle his entire collegiate career. And I wonder if the Bears are still viewing him at that. That would mean that Braxton Jones, who's still dealing with off-season surgery and, trying to get back and healthy for the 2025 season, would be out of a job. Or are you moving Campbell inside? Or are you moving somebody else inside? What are you exactly doing with Campbell? I couldn't tell you at this point in time. I still want to go watch more of the tape on Campbell, but he has played left tackle. He's been very successful at left tackle, only given up 4 sacks in 3 seasons at LSU. I would say that's pretty good. But that would be the dream scenario that PFF, put out there for the Chicago Bears. And I think it's hard to debate something that would be better than that. I was trying to think of it, like what other free agent target other than Trey Smith and this potential, draft pick would be better than those two just put out there. I mean, I don't know if anyone in the chat right now has put anything in there. So, okay, let's Muck Ty General. Interesting name. In my opinion, a smart move is to take D-line in the first round and interior O-line in the second. Donovan Jackson, Wyatt Millam would both still be there in round 2. Okay, so that's the other scenario I was thinking of. I was still thinking Trey Smith. Like, that is the one guy I think most Bears fans want to come away with from free agency, Trey Smith. So let's just lock him in right there. The other guy that, depending on there's going to be so many mock drafts. There's been already so many mock drafts since way before even February started, but January and stuff. You're going to see guys like, nope, he won't be there. There's a lot of mock drafts that don't even have Will Campbell getting to this spot at 10. They usually at pick number 4, I think that's the New England Patriots, he's gone. That could be the case. That could not be. Who, we don't know. We don't know at this point in time. It's way too early to tell, and it doesn't make sense to get mad at it. Like, I know there are some people on, we'll see mock drafts like, well, that mock draft doesn't make any sense. And maybe it doesn't, but it's not worth getting mad over. So I don't know why I'm getting all worked up about it. But if I'm looking at potentially Trey Smith and a draft target, I am also thinking someone on the defensive line. And I'm not even thinking like Mason Graham, the interior defensive lineman out of Michigan. What if, and I still need to watch film on this guy, a little bit more film, James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. That seems to be another guy that I think would fit well. I think he still needs to add a little bit more weight to be ideal for what Dennis Allen wants to see out of his defensive end, 6'5", 243. So a little bit on the lighter side, so I want to see there. But another guy that I keep seeing down on the, like, draft board consensus like models here. And again, we don't know. Every board's going to be different, how they're viewing certain players and where they have them ranked. But a guy that I saw firsthand at the Senior Bowl and how it would work with the Bears, Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. That is, I think, the prototypical, we're going to bet on the traits, we're going to bet on the physical makeup. He didn't have a lot of like sack production last season, but he was and again, this is using PFF's grades and things like that, 88.2 PFF run defense grade in 2024, and continue to prove as a pass rusher. Let me see if I can quickly pull up his overall stats that he's had in his entire career. But okay, 2024, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, 33 hurries. So, okay, finishing, I think, is the next step for, a guy like Shamar Stewart. So it's not like he's not applying pressure at all. 33 hurries is a lot, but it's just not. It's maybe finishing, or sometimes it's just luck sometimes where you get some of these sacks. 2023, he had 2 sacks again, 5 quarterback hits, 19 hurries. And then his 2022 season, 12 games played, 2 sacks, 3 hits, and 9 hurries. So he's gotten better every single year in the hurries. The sacks have been exactly the same every single year. But I just look at his physical makeup, and I see somebody that would fit exactly what Dennis Allen wants in a defensive end, but also maybe what could work opposite of Montez Sweat. And I think, even as somebody like covers the Bears, people obviously fans of the Bears, we're looking at this draft, this free agent class, through the eyes only of Caleb Williams, right? Or I think it plays a huge, huge part in it. Like, you need to draft that offensive lineman to give Caleb Williams a better foundation so he can just operate the offense, stay upright, be able to, find targets downfield. And I get that. And that should be a huge emphasis going into 2025. How do you build a team to better support Caleb Williams? But we also know that that's not how it will probably work, right? They have boards. They have their big boards. They'll have their players, their grades, and how they rank respectively against each other at respective positions, but they'll rank them. And if there's their best player available is there at that spot, they feel comfortable making the pick at 10, and it's not an offensive lineman, that could be, what general manager Ryan Poles ends up going with, right? So I know it sounds crazy. Like, why wouldn't you do everything to support your second-year quarterback? And look, I understand that premise, but it's not. If you start only drafting for needs, that's where you can get in trouble. But you can also get in trouble if you don't draft the guys necessary to help your second-year quarterback who was sacked 68 times last season. You need to give him the playmakers and the consistency up front to just allow him to be, I think, what the Bears view him as a superstar that he can be. So it would be interesting if the Bears do go, again, in this PFF scenario, you get Trey Smith in free agency. You have one guard spot solidified, locked down. You feel really good about that. And then if you do go defensive lineman in round 1, pick 10, again, we're not doing trade backs or anything like that at this point. I would really expect that second pick to go back in the trenches because you're still going to have, I would think, needs on the offensive line. And, Gray Zabel, another guy at the Senior Bowl that played literally all 3 interior offensive line positions, wherever you feel comfortable at putting him. Maybe you make that decision if you're Ryan Poles there. So many fascinating scenarios, but I really thought it was a really good exercise from PFF to just get us thinking a little bit, just to kind of see like what could happen. It's February 17th. What can happen for the Bears as they look to build this team? And next week will be the NFL scouting combine. I still have to see if I'll be down there. It might be the first year that I can't make it, but we'll see. See what ends up happening. It would be nice to get down there. It's a really good time to, one, learn about the prospects, but everything you get when you're Indy in terms of just intel and things like that. But it was a good, fascinating exercise that PFF put out there. Let me check the chat. I see I do a really terrible job. I'm looking at the camera that's up here. Chat's down here. So I got to do a better job just being multitasking here and just seeing what people are thinking. Kenneth Grant is better than Mason Graham. I'm going to put this chat up here. I still, like, to be completely honest, I need to watch more on all these prospects. So I can't say if he is or isn't, but he will definitely be somebody that I watch before, draft comes out, before the draft gets here and we're, the Bears are acquiring players, things like that. So I'll definitely look into that. Mr. Crinkle 44. Do you honestly think the Bears will get Trey Smith? I don't see why they wouldn't be in contention. If he hits free agency, Mr. Crinkle 44, and for anybody else that's maybe thinking, like, will they actually get him? If Trey Smith hits free agency, the Bears are going to be one of the top teams bidding for him. The thing is, I just don't know after this past Super Bowl how the Chiefs look at what transpired and think, yeah, we can not that we can do without Trey Smith, but we're not going to do what we can to retain a guy like that. And to be fair, though, it was really Trey Smith, I think, had a okay game. Not his greatest, but it wasn't as bad as some people think. I think actually it was overall, I think, a pretty decent game from him. But it was really the tackles from Kansas City that just got their asses whooped. Let's be completely honest. They did not do enough in pass protection to allow Patrick Mahomes to do what he typically does. So, but if he hits free agency, I absolutely believe the Bears have a shot. Like I said, they're sixth in cap space. Money's not going to be an issue. And if signing Ben Johnson to the deal that he has, and I don't think the actual numbers actually out there, but it's a lucrative contract. If they're willing to do that for him, and it is about winning and changing the narrative around this team, they're going to go get some big free agent targets. Guys that they think will obviously give the offense a better position to succeed, give Caleb Williams a better position to succeed, allow Ben Johnson to run his offense the way he sees fit. So I do think that they will be in the running for Trey Smith if he hits free agency. Bears, yes, I will put this. You need a producer, winky face. That would be nice. Producers are nice. When you're on your own, you just you got to do it all yourself. And there's a lot of learning that comes with that, and also a lot of perks that come with that as well. So, but a producer would be nice. Okay. Actually, I have to scroll all the way back up because I need to put the comment back on the screen because there we go. Jacob Stone, Tyler Booker. I have look, I love so when it comes to draft time, I really do love this time because I just get to watch film prospects and write down my own notes. I don't like to look a lot at a lot of what the experts are saying. Eventually I will look at those just to see, like, okay, what did I write down? What did other people ultimately write down? And I've been pretty consistent with some of the things I see and what other people see, which is also great. And then there's things that they point out in their notes, like on NFL.com when you do a draft profile. I'm like, ooh, good point. I do see that. I guess I just didn't write that down because I wasn't even like thinking about it. So just some of the things that I had from Tyler Booker, who is projected to be a first-round draft pick out of Alabama, guard 6'5", 325. And I'm glad, Jacob, you brought him up at the beginning of the show. And like I said, we're going to get to him at the end of the show. But I would think probably not going to be the pick at 10 if the Bears were to stick there. I still think, well, who knows? I mean, maybe teams are valuing guard a little bit more, but I doubt it. I doubt a guard at 10 is going to be what the Bears do regardless of who's left or who's not left on the board. But some of the things I put down watching in the games I watched were Alabama versus Georgia 2024 and then Alabama versus Tennessee this past season. Man, I'm losing my voice here. The things I noticed from him, I mean, I'm writing notes. They're not complete sentences or anything, but just so I can get, a feel for him. But moving out of his pass set really well, takes on a decent bull rush, gives up some ground, but gives his quarterback time on the rush. Strong hand punch, grip, grabs defender, and he wasn't going anywhere. I like to also put my little spin on these too. The one thing that I noticed consistently, which I think is going to really be well for Tyler Booker at the next level, is his patience, man. It kept on showing up, and I'm like, man, patient in his pass set, waiting for the defender to make a move. Patient. you don't see him, even if a pass rusher hasn't fully committed to a move yet, you're not going to see a guy like Tyler Booker overcommit. You're not going to see him make that first mistake. He's going to allow that rusher to do whatever he wants to do, and then he's going to counter. And I like that a lot from his game, because I think sometimes you see out of offensive linemen, they're almost too aggressive. They're almost too eager to make that block right away, and that can allow them to be off balance, to miss completely, to whiff on a block. You don't see that from Tyler Booker, which I kept noting, putting down in my notes as I'm like writing down, just key takeaways from this guy. I'm like, okay, now I can see why consistency is something that is, I think, a positive in his game. So I really like that about him. I put here, once Booker gets hands inside shoulder pads, nice job staying connected to the defensive lineman. Footwork, really clean with his footwork. Again, staying connected to the D-lineman, walling off defenders. As a puller, though, what I had, he's not the most not agile is not the word, but he's just not the quickest to get out of his stance and then to be that lead block. He'll get out there, get to where he needs to be. It does take him a little bit. So I did put that down as some of the I don't want to say issues. There are things that just to work on, or that will be correctable at the next level. Gets a second level and engulfs the linebacker. Great seal block to create a lane. And I mentioned right where it happened in the video. Helps out his center on a combo block. D tackle taken care of. Gets low out of his stance. At times he'll miss his target because his head is low. That's another thing that I'm kind of watching. Head is low sometimes out of his stance. He does get out low, but he's kind of looking down. Well, that's where he can get disconnected off the blocks, where he doesn't have that full view of who he's blocking. And then, like any lineman, if you don't see your target, it's kind of hard to block the target. But I was overall impressed with his hand placement, his ability to move in space. Again, not the fastest getting out there, but patience. That kept on coming up as I was watching him make blocks. So not a guy, too, that, like I said, at 10, probably not the pick for the Bears, but trade down? Potentially, yeah. And like, I was looking at just some of the top prospects in this draft, and like I admitted, like, I need to watch more of these guys to get a better feel for them, just to see, who the Bears could potentially, if they're picking at 10, who they could potentially actually take. That was a mouthful. Say potentially actually take. Never doing that again. But I do feel like a trade down scenario. And the thing is, there needs to be a guy that somebody absolutely wants. Is that maybe an edge rusher that they really need to have, one team needs to have, and they just can't wait to be at the position that they're in and draft from that respective position? I don't know. But I just feel like this could be a really good opportunity to trade back in out of the top 10 to acquire more of those draft picks. Hopefully one on day 2. That's what you would expect. And still get a quality, maybe edge rusher or an interior offensive lineman like Tyler Booker out of Alabama, and then still, address some of those other needs that you do have at defensive line. You have to, if you're looking to maybe add a third wide receiver to this team, if you're not very comfortable with Tyler Scott or another safety, there are needs still on this team. I think the favorite for a lot of people right now, and I can subscribe to this, is another running back. And I'm getting reaching out to some people to get some info on Caleb Johnson from the University of Iowa. No bias or anything, just a really good football player. If the Bears should draft him, they'd be a better team for it. But I'm reaching out to some people to get some info on Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, and that could be another position that I could see Ryan Poles dipping into, especially with this class, as everyone's kind of talked about, as being deeper at the running back spot. So should be fun, and I'm really looking forward to getting into more of these draft prospects, more of the free agent targets as well, as kind of get through the offseason here. So Ty General, the draft is deep at safety. It's crazy. So that as well, like there are some positions of need that do line up in this draft for the Bears. So it's going to be fascinating. And for the people that are still making mocks, keep putting them out there. It gives more people for me to think about and No one should get upset about Will Campbell making it a 10 or whatever it may be in a mock draft. It's a mock draft, but it's exercise to get people thinking about different scenarios. That's how I've always viewed it, and it allows me to, if you haven't heard of a prospect, when I eventually put out like a 7-round mock draft, to highlight guys that maybe aren't as noticed or whatever it may be, especially in the later rounds. So should be fun. Really look forward to doing all of that, and I'm really appreciative of everybody that came in, was just hanging out on your Monday afternoon. I need to get a little bit more consistent with this, which I should when I hopefully get some branding for the show, maybe some foreshadowing there, but we're working on that. So appreciate everybody for hanging out, liking, subscribing. If you haven't already, please do so. Still growing the channel, helps me out here, helps me to talk about some draft prospects and just talk Bears football with you guys as still looking, and really quickly, still looking for that next full-time job. Like to be very transparent. It's been rough. It's been rough. Let's just say that. There's just not a lot of look, how many jobs are there really right now to cover the Chicago Bears? It's not a lot, but you got to stay patient with it and stay positive, and things will happen as long as you put that time and work in. And I feel like I'm not going to stop doing that regardless of my position that I'm in. So this is my platform to kind of talk Bears football, to speak with you, to hang out, and just keep up to date with everything. So again, I will say this for about the millionth time. Appreciate everyone for being here. Thank you for liking, subscribing. Share this with a friend, please. Anybody that, there's so many people that are interested in Bears football. You can't find somebody to share this with. I would really, enjoy that. So everybody, I'm going to let you guys get to the rest of your week. I will be back later this week before, Herb and I close out the week on Friday. I'll be back with another video to talk whatever prospects I watch in that time from now, or whatever news ends up happening. Maybe, Ian Cunningham made it to the second round of interviews for the Jacksonville Jaguars GM position. That could realistically, actually, that interview will be on Wednesday. So I'm going to look for another show Wednesday afternoon. That would be a good time to look into seeing this show being live and to talk more Bears football. But again, thanks everyone for being here. I will see you later in the week.